Hey, Scuba Squad. Hope you all are doing well. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you're getting out diving. I'm today setting up a pony cylinder for a buddy of mine. He helped me out, and as a thank you, I decided I would set up pony cylinder for him. So thanks, John. Appreciate your help. Shout out to you. So why do we need a pony cylinder? What is a pony cylinder? Well, a pony cylinder is intended for bailout use only. In the cold waters that we typically dive up here in the North Country of Minnesota, we have cold water sometimes, not a lot. We can get a free flow or have some other catastrophic gas loss situation that you may want to have a redundant air source to bail out. My recommendation for this kind of setup is you go with either a 30 or a 40 cubic foot pony cylinder. This is just air. This is not a stage decompression. That's different. We'll talk about that later. And this is just for recreational divers, not technical, just to clear that up. So if you have a smaller pony cylinder, say a 13 cubic foot pony cylinder, that's helpful, but it may not give you enough breathing gas, depending on the depth and time of your dive, to ascend from, say, 120, 130 feet if you're that deep, ascend up to your safety stop, do your 5-minute stop, and exit the water, okay? You need to make sure that you have an adequate gas supply for your bailout, based on your profile, because, well, if you don't, you're just going to run out of air twice. And the only thing that sucks worse than running out of air once on a dive is running out of air twice. So to set up this pony, we have a couple of hose retainers, we have a hose clamp, and then we have our leash with our swivel-ended bolt snaps, and then we have just a couple of wrenches, and then we have our regulator. And that's a Dive Right XT1, XT2. Very nice regulators. I love those regs. They've never failed on me. So when we're setting this up, we need to keep in mind how we're going to have this sitting on our BCD as we're diving. So the way I like to have this set is with the valve. I would like to sling it on my left side, which is standard, and then with the valve facing out. This is a DIN valve and a DIN regulator. I recommend that highly for ponies and bailouts and just in general. And you'll see why here in a minute. So first thing we need to do is we need to put on our hose retainers. And these can be a little bit tricky. You got to make sure you get the right size. And I like to have these facing on this side of the cylinder so they're easy to grab with your left hand. And you'll see why in a little bit. So there's a couple of different options for hose retainers. I like these. They work pretty well. So put your hose retainers on first. That's fine for right now on that. All right, got our hose retainers on. Next, we need to put on our hose clamp and our leash. So slide this in here like this, right back there, and then slide the cylinder in. And then we can put this over the neck, like so. And then this looks pretty good. So you can adjust these a little bit, depending on how long you want your tail. If you want a longer leash like this, you can move your hose clamp up. You can also adjust this piece here, depending on what suits your needs. I like to have my tail kind of short on these, just so that way the cylinder's not hanging down so much. Part of slinging these cylinders is you want to have this on an upper D-ring up here by your shoulder, and then you want to have this back here on your hip D-ring, or another D-ring on the front, whichever you prefer. And the idea is you want to get it close to your body, but you don't want it to hang down. So if you're close to the bottom, typically what will happen is the valve will hang down a little bit. And if it's not tucked up, it can actually drag through the muck and the mud. So pull this good and tight. And then when this is a 5/16 wrench. So I'm just going to cinch this down here. And just kind of see how this goes. It's just a kind of a standard hose clamp. And the idea here is you want to get this all really, really tight because it's going to loosen up a bit over time. So So you want to have this leash just kind of in line with your cylinder valve. Okay, I'll show you why here in a minute. And then we want to reef this down and cinch it up really good. Okay, so there you go. That's pretty tight, snug, secure. Maybe even get it a little bit better. There we go. So next, we're going to put on our regulator. Ooh, sexy. So these regulators, these dive right regs are great for cold water. I highly recommend them. So you notice there's a little short hose on here for the SPG. Now you can get a button SPG if you want. You don't have to have a regular full size one. This is what I prefer. I prefer to have one on a short hose. It's just a little bit easier. A little button SPG will just kind of fit here on the top, and it's just a small little thing. It's easy to see at the surface, not so much easy to see on the dive. And it's not a huge deal. Either way, whatever your preference is. If you're bailing out with this, your dive's over anyway. So at that point, you just got to make sure that you have adequate gas. So I'm going to put this on here like this. You know, a typical regulator would sit like this. But I like to put this sideways, and I'll show you why here in a minute. So this will help with the hose routing. That threaded on there. Come on. There we go. Okay, so that's on there good and tight. So this has a nifty swivel on it. This is what's kind of cool. So this hangs down when it's not being used. And when you do use it, if you are deploying it, this nifty little swivel works great for optimal hose routing. You can give it to a buddy. Works out very well. So this gets tucked in here with the hose retainer. It's a little bit awkward working on a table, but all right. So this gets tucked in like this. And that looks pretty neat and compact. You can get a small piece of bungee to go around here to kind of keep that in place like that. And then your SPG, you can just, if you have it on a short, you can just kind of leave it dangle here. You don't really need to, it's not going to go very far one way or the other. Or you can tuck it in here with the hose retainer as well. Some people will put this up here and they'll use a zip tie or some bungee cord or something so that they can see the gauge. And that's okay. But you have to keep in mind that this bend here is going to wear out this hose pretty quickly. So I just generally like to leave it dangle. It doesn't really hurt anything. It's not going to cause any issues. I don't believe. If I do want to secure it a little bit better, I'll just tuck it in here on the hose router. So here you have it. So you can also use this other one here. Nifty little hose retainer. So there you go. Sometimes I will put on a little bit longer hose, like a 40-inch hose. This is, I think, a 28. I'll get like a 34 or 38 or 40. So that's what this is. And make sure that if you do decide to get a pony set up, you get a regulator that is also of equal or greater quality than the one that you're diving. Because if you have a regulator, if your main regulator fails and you switch to something that isn't as reliable and it fails, you're kind of back to square one. So when you need this, you can just grab this, pull it out, deploy it, use it, and it works great. So I hope you find this helpful. So the valve here is on the outside so that you can grab it easily during your dive if you need it. Okay. The last thing you need to do, and this is probably the most important, is we put on our sticker. There we go. Finally got it. So this is very important that we put a Scuba Squad sticker right here on our pony cylinder. Looks great. We do have shirts and stickers. We have a whole swag kit. For 25 bucks, you get a shirt, you get stickers, and a patch. So shameless plug there for our swag kits. But hope this is helpful for you. There's many different ways to do all this stuff, and this is how I like to do it. And I hope that helps. Thank you. Have a good day.